Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a roster update video, and we are looking at our marquees and our unlocks. And today we just had Conquest end, so we need to get Jocasta new ready for the next week of Grand Arena. With a major project progress, we are in a little bit of flux. We have Mace Windu Legendary on the horizon, but we don't really have too much to work on in regards to that. So we have a little opportunity to work on other things, but there are a couple characters we can address. And then we have Omicrons, Datacrons, a couple things happening there. And then the bulk of what I'm trying to work on, we'll see if we get to actually do it, working on some weaknesses, some luxury projects, now that we have this little opportunity here until these next several characters get released. Bird's eye look at the favorites and some of our active projects that we are working on. So they're actually a little minimal, but when we take a look at the spreadsheet, I did make a number of changes. Now that we have, for instance, Mace Windu as a specific target, and we have a couple of the requirements. It's a little thin here. This will grow as we get more information. This column here, which used to include those dark side clones, this has now been adjusted, and it takes into account our raid characters with the Fugitive Bad Batch squad, but also some recent unlocks, Balin, Ahsoka, and now Jocasta, who will be brought up as well. Maybe not to Relic 5 today, but we will take her to Relics. This column remains Rey and her requirements, but I did consolidate and revise this column, which is where I've been housing the luxury projects. Now that we have a little bit of a timeline towards working on Mace Windu, that just means there's fewer characters I'm actually going to be able to address during this time period, especially with signal data issues. But these are the characters I'm looking to address hopefully soon. We'll see how many we actually get to. Some are for territory battles, some are just high quality characters that I want to get up to Relic 8. I really want to expand the number of characters I have at Relic 8. And some other characters I just want to round out other squads, bring them up to Relics. That's why you're seeing like K2SO or Vandor, or with Garsax and Imperial Super Commando. What the dark side clones mean is that we're going to have a dedicated Maul squad, so I need to get my Maul squad ready. And right now it's not. But looking at the specifics of the spreadsheet, you can see there's not too much we're working on. We're actually pretty good on signal data, getting down to double digits for some of the near-term projects, which means we have a little bit of flexibility to drop onto some of those luxury characters. But I've also put out that methods video on crafting at the scavenger, where this is why you can see I don't have that many more bronziums to work on. I address all of my approach towards the scavenger in that methods video. I'll throw it at the end, but it's really something worth checking out to make sure that you are approaching the scavenger in your optimal ways. In terms of the rest, we're pretty good on Kairos, getting down into the blue section in terms of color, which is just means we're getting to a range where I'll probably be done with it in a week or two, and we can start expanding our long-term goals. And then fusion furnaces and thermals are really what I'm looking at for the Mark II raid currency. Everything else, we're in a really good spot to just start building upon surpluses so that we can start absorbing those new characters and requirements as they become available. Now with our marquees and active farms, you can see we have progress here on Hunter. He is on a Cantina node, so we are rapidly finishing him. We're actually about 20 shards away from 7 stars, but we couldn't hold off for that because we got to do our Grand Arena lock-in, so that'll have to happen in the next video. But we're in a really good spot to absorb the next Bad Batch character because Omega Fugitive's at 49 shards. We got 51 to go, and at about 5 shards a day, just over a week, we'll be finishing Fugitive. Hunter will almost be done. Actually, in probably about 2 days, Hunter will be done. We're getting about 15 to 20 shards a day on Hunter on that Cantina node, and then we'll be able to shift back to the signal data. And then and then Batcher, we're actively farming. Batcher, a little bit more work on the fleet node, but we're almost to 6 stars, probably about a month away from being done on Batcher, but right in a position to start working on Wrecker and Crosshair. With the dark side clones, you can see we're almost to 5 stars with CX2, with the era battle starting up tomorrow as I record this. Hopefully get up to 5 stars during that new event. But our big unlock for today is Jocasta new. We are going to take her up to Relics. Normally I'd take these characters up to Relic 3, but these days there's just less and less reason to do it, and I'm actively handicapping myself by doing so. So we're going to go to Relic 3. That, I guess, is going to be our new testing limit so that we can actually utilize these characters in a functional way. Plus, with protection being a major mechanic to her damage, we really need to bring these characters up to Relics so that they can actually function as intended. Because it's all designed at this level right now. For Marquees, we'll still do gear 11, partly because we have to, but also just because some of those characters are intended to work at lower levels. With these Conquest characters, it's really not the case. But Relic 3, just so that we can put Datacrons on and we'll feel around at these lower levels. But some of these characters where we're really relying on stats for their damage output, they really need to be high Relics. We are definitely putting on the Zetas. I am beyond being too concerned about them. We will talk about Omis, but we do have the kit breakdown video where I talk about Omis more in detail. This is not a character I am putting all the Omis on or think I need to. I really think we need to be waiting for the full kits from either the Marquee characters that are upcoming or from Mace Windu when his kit becomes available. Because for instance here, this basic here, granting the dispellable buffs, that's not really that big of a deal, particularly with the current Jedi Vanguard. There's no buffs that matter that much for this functionality to occur. There's probably going to be something to happen with Mace Windu's kit that unlocks this, so we can wait, and that'll give us more options in the interim. This one here, dispel all debuffs, set the target's max health to 65. That's nice. This one I'm considering after a week of testing. I want to see the footage of other players. I want to see how she feels in action to see how much I care about this, because really the functionality of this ability is to defeat the character, not to take them down to 65. Taking them down to 65 is if you fail to defeat somebody. That max health of 65 condition is if you fail, you can easily clean them up with somebody else, or it's going to have other kind of synergy with forthcoming characters, so that one we can wait on. This is an Omega, and this unique though, we are definitely doing this unique. This is highly valuable, because this counter chance is really going to tie into her basic ability, where with her basic, if you're hitting enemies with defense down or tenacity down, it's spreading those buffs around, and that being able to counter is going to increase the chances in which you are hitting those characters who do have those debuffs. And then there's just a bunch of associated functionality that happens with the unique ability from those debuffs spreading. And when you're in the rifle form, it adds expose and vulnerable as well. So this Ami, definitely putting this one on. The other two will wait, and hopefully I remember to address some mods, because I do have some 6-dot mods I can place on her, but we're not going to do that in this video. With our Datacron progress, we made some decent progress during the Conquest. We got both of the focus Datacrons that I'm working with up to level 15. That was pretty expensive, and it means that we are far shallower when it comes to the rest of the Datacron set, and I didn't really get too many of my targets. And I used all my rerolls and still didn't get some of the ones that I was hoping to get, like Sidious and Dooku. But I did get a couple that I like. Saw, Cyan, and Talon, and Grievous. Those are all options I was hoping to get. Now, I do still have a bunch of materials. I'm just out of credits. For the purposes that we're here, we'll take this one up a little bit higher, because I am trying to get that Dooku Cron. So it'll be next week when I'm able to pick up another 1 or 2 of these. But at that point, it'll be Territory Wars, and we'll be getting some reroll mats. I do have some Datacron related relics to do, Darth Sion being the key one. He's one of my favorite characters in the game. Sith are my favorite faction, and I need to take him up to Relic 5 so that I can use that Cron. I don't really know how I'm going to use it in 3v3, but at least we will have the option, and then we'll be able to use it for 5v5. Well, I don't even know if I'm going to use it in 5v5, because we have the Talon Cron, and I prefer the Talon Cron to this. But maybe we'll pull some things aside, maybe try a couple things differently. But that, I think, is the only one I need to do, because the rest of these, the characters are Relic. Oh, actually, no, Saw. We got to do Saw, and actually, I'm pretty happy about this one, because Saw is a character I wanted to up the Relics on. I wanted to get him to Relic 7 for territory battles and just for the counters that I use him for, but this is actually very important, which is why we're doing this. Alright, the Relic 7 will wait for the future. That is something we intend to do, but not something we need to do right now. Maybe we do, because it is territory battles. You know what? Let's do something nice for the guild. Let's take them up to Relic 7. We'll gain access to another special mission. I think it's Saw only, right? Maybe I should have checked this first to make sure it was only one character required for that node, but whatever. We're going to do it anyway. And I'm kind of in the mood to do one more thing. We can do like one luxury related thing, especially because I'm not as concerned about Kairos as I used to be. So looking at our luxury projects, and actually this is worth talking about because I did clean this up a little bit because we had been making progress. I took a few characters off of this. I cleaned up the GL portion to reflect some of the GLs that I want to be improving. And you know what? I kind of want to do that right. Do I have the resources to do that right now? You know what? I do. And that is in the spreadsheet. So we're not pulling away from any columns of prep. So I am going to take her up to Relic 8 because she's a tank and that's valuable and important. That's the only GL that I'm going to do right now though. And that is one I wanted to do the other week and we didn't have enough materials for it. Now Java I want to do for territory battles and because it'll help. SOKR though is the big one that I want to improve, but that will have to wait for later. Then you can see we have journey guide related characters that I want to be increasing the levels on. Also third sisters within there. Any tanks I want to be bringing up to Relic 8 sooner than later. They're going to get priority. We can actually knock Bo-Katan off of that list. Then we got our conquest releases. Exile is really the one I want to prioritize, but a couple of these other ones I want to be improving. The Sith I'm mostly happy with. I did change out some like added Rey in here. I forget who I took out, but those are some of the big ones. Some tanks that I want to be improving. Royal Guard though has dropped down in importance. But then here we have some of the characters that are not at relics that I would like to improve. Now Fennec, Grief Karga, Mando, with these changes to Lord Vader, that's no longer a concern. I still want to get at least Grief Karga, maybe Mando, because they're useful for certain things, but I want to address certain squads that I'm actively using. And one of the things I'm trying to do, at least in 3v3, is I want my JTR Swallow counter to work. And I gave R2 back to Leia. I might take R2 back and just maybe not do one of these characters, but I do want to add one of these relics. And I'm really thinking it's going to be BB-8, L3, or maybe like Super Commando or Gar Saxon. But L3 is very tempting because she's a pre-taunt. I almost want to do Super Commando and Gar Saxon, but I don't want to take both up to Relic 3. Because really this is a one relic situation. I mean, kind of not really. We could do multiple things. You know what? This is what we're going to do. I am taking L3 up to Relic 3. So that we can utilize her with JTR. BB-8 might be the better option, but the way that I use the team, I just kind of want a taunt. The Relic 3 is going to be a little low, but I think this will help. And then what I'm going to do is I'm taking Super Commando up to Relic 1. Because Relic 1's basically free. I mean, Relic 2's basically free too. Let's do Relic 2. I'm not going to do Relic 3 though. You know what? Yes, I am. I eventually wore myself down. It's not that much. And now my Maul. We have a Maul squad. Because I've been using Lord Vader with the dark side clones, even though mine are at low stars in Gear 11. That's worked fine. You can watch my Grand Arena matches for footage of me using Lord Vader at those levels. I'll even show you guys again as a visual after we finish taking Gar Saxon up. This is a big expansion on our relics that I wasn't thinking we were going to do when we started this. But that's definitely enough for today. Here is what I'm talking about. Here's my Apo and my CX. I did put the CX Ami on. That right there has been enough for me to take down a Balin Skull squad. Apo and CX stuck around for the majority of the battle. CX can't get targeted, which makes him pretty difficult to take out. And then Lord Vader just had the opportunity to do the majority of the work. And it succeeded very well. This roster video covers the gearing prior to Grand Arena Season 65 Week 2, which that footage is already up. So you can see the Jocasta new in action, how I was utilizing her. Got some good results, some bad results, also some of these Datacrons, like the Sawcron on offense in action, doing really impressive work there. Otherwise, recent releases, we have a speculation talk video up here looking at the pirate faction, but more importantly, the considerations towards the inevitable pirate fleet fleet, because that is why CG is making them a priority. They're the easiest route towards a new fleet in the game. So be taking this faction seriously. Take these conquests seriously, and those videos will be out shortly. I'm going to be working on them after I put out this video. In the meantime, though, we also have this methods video looking at the scavenger. Some good information in there, particularly for bronzium crafting, but also which carbonite circuit board pieces you need to be protecting so you're not hurting your bronziums. But I've been pushing that video because we are going to get back into putting out methods videos as a regular part of this channel. It's been a while before I put out those regularly. But thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.